If you have a cell phone, would you please place it on silent?
Adam, can you hear you? How you been doing? On? I just turned it. It doesn't sound like it's on.
I can hear myself.
Okay. My hearing is getting worse. That's not a joke. My hearing is getting worse. Oh, really? I didn't even notice. Yeah. Oh, I know.
Those the no line ones?
I guess. I don't, but I fell down about 4 flights of stairs so far and tripped off the curb. I can't get you. Yeah, you do. You got to do this.
Like this, I can't see what, so I have to go like that if I can see what. And this,
It takes a little getting used to. Yeah.
Good evening and welcome to the Coffeyville City Commission meeting for Tuesday, March 27th. Tonight's invocation will be led by Reverend Dean McNamara of the First Baptist Church. Please stand for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we give you thanks for the opportunity to gather tonight. Lord, we thank you for the city of Coffeyville, for all who serve, all of our elected officials, all of our police and fire and EMS workers, our hospital staff, all of our city employees, Lord, in every department. Would you put a hedge of protection and safety around them, Lord, we pray, and help them to do their jobs to the best of their due diligence. And then, Lord, would you also remind us this week especially that it's Holy Week. And may our lives and may our actions and even our attitudes tonight be one that reminds us that, yes, this is holy. This is a holy place because this is your place. So, Lord, tonight we ask you to be with us, be with all who direct the meeting. Lord, be with our commissioners and all that will present to them. Now, Lord, we ask you to be with us. Guide us in your love. And again, thank you for what this week really means. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Dean.
Moving into consent agenda. Item number 1, City Commission meeting minutes for Tuesday, March 13th, 2018. 2018 appropriation ordinance number AO-18-06 in the amount of $5,018,177.87. Resolution number R-18-17, a resolution to approve the resignation of Kendall Francis as city manager effective March 14th, 2018. Resolution number R-18-18, a resolution to approve the appointment of Mike Shook as interim city manager effective March 14, 2018. And Resolution R-18-19, a resolution to adopt the recommendations of the Health Insurance Committee and benefit health providers to discontinue retiree health insurance coverage. Do we have any questions or comments regarding these items on the consent agenda?
I have a couple on the appropriation ordinance, just because I don't think some of these have been on before since I've been, so I kind of like to question. There's one for Grand River Dam Authority for $2 million. It's on page 20 of that appropriation ordinance, and something that probably goes with it, Southwest Power Pool, which must be the transmission service.
That is correct. The $2,821,697.50 to Grand River Dam. That is for energy purchases for the month.
Okay.
If you'll look up on that item, $2 million of that, excuse me, $2.1 million is for CRNF and Lindy, and then the number below that, the $664,000. That is what we call native load. That is for the city itself, city proper. And that is roughly that's the average monthly payment.
Okay.
Depending on the season, of course. And then, yes, the other item, Southwest Power Pool, that is for network transmission service to bring the power into our system.
Okay. All right. And then we made a payment to Commercial Bank for the fire truck lease. That's our first payment since taking over.
That is correct.
Okay. Okay. All right. And I also noticed we had 1,800 in title searches. Those are for homes. We're searching to make sure the title's clear. Is that correct?
For the blight
future demolition.
For the blight process, yes.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. That's all. Thank you.
Any other questions from the commission?
No, I don't have any. I don't think there's any more, Mayor. And I'd move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Motion was made by Commissioner Taylor and seconded by Mayor Bauer to approve the consent agenda as presented. Commissioner Taylor,
Aye.
Commissioner Van Oster,
Aye.
Mayor Bauer,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams,
Aye.
Commissioner Doan.
Aye.
2018 appropriation ordinance number AO-18-06A, Ishams, in the amount of $276.91. Any questions or comments regarding this item on the consent agenda? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to approve AO-18-06A.
I'll second it.
Motion was made by Mayor Bauer and seconded by Commissioner Taylor to approve appropriation ordinance number AO-18-06A for adoption. Commissioner Williams,
Aye.
Commissioner Van Oster,
Abstain.
Commissioner Doan,
Aye.
Mayor Bauer,
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor.
Aye.
Moving into regular agenda items, public hearing, special presentation, and proclamations. Tonight we have 3 proclamations. The first one is a proclamation to declare April as Fair Housing Month. I have it right here. The second one is a proclamation to declare April 3rd as National Service Recognition Day. I will read and present the proclamation to Christina Tinsley of Fort County.
That's right, we're doing good, aren't we?
So, whereas service to others is the hallmark of the American character and central to how we meet our challenges, and whereas the nation's cities are increasingly turning to national service and volunteerism as a cost-effective strategy to meet cities' needs, and whereas AmeriCorps and Senior Corps participants address the most pressing challenges facing our communities, from educating students for the jobs of the 21st century and supporting veterans and military families, to providing health services and helping communities recover from natural disasters. And whereas national service expands economic opportunity by creating more sustainable, resilient communities and providing education, career skills, and leadership abilities for those who serve, and whereas national service represents a unique public-private partnership that invests in community solutions and leverages non-federal resources to strengthen community impact and increase the return on taxpayer dollars. And whereas the Corporation for National and Community Service shares a priority with mayors nationwide to engage citizens, improve lives, and strengthen communities, and is joining with mayors across the country to support National Service Recognition Day. Now, therefore, I, Paul Bauer, Mayor of the City of Coffeyville, Kansas, do hereby proclaim April 3rd, 2018 as National Service Recognition Day, and do hereby encourage residents to recognize the positive impact of service to our city, to thank those who serve and find ways to give back to our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. To have a drink before the next one. The next proclamation to declare April 19th through 13th as Boys and Girls Club of Coffeyville Week. Representative Boys and Girls Club will be present, Griffin Walker. I will present Griffin with the proclamation, and then I believe Griffin has a few comments that he would like to talk through. The whole group of you.
Yes.
All right.
Board members.
You have to read it to each one of them.
Yeah, we'll see about that. All right. Whereas Boys and Girls Club of Coffeyville was formed over 61 years ago in 1955, and in 1990 was transformed into the Boys and Girls Club of Coffeyville in order to serve all the youth of our community. And whereas the local club has grown and been so successful in offering programs to enhance the physical, mental, emotional, and scholastic growth of its club members, thereby creating an environment where their health, social skills, academic performance, and self-esteem has been significantly improved. And whereas the Boys and Girls Club of Coffeyville has documented evidence that the youth participating in the various programs of the club have demonstrated a greater understanding of the importance of the avoidance of substance abuse, premarital sexual activity, and compliance with the law of the land, thereby becoming more confident in their ability to become moral and effective citizens of the community and the nation, serving as role models for other youth of the community. Now, therefore, I, Paul Bauer, Mayor of the City of Coffeyville, Kansas, do hereby proclaim the week of April 9th through 13th as Boys and Girls Club Coffeyville Week, and do hereby urge all parents and legal guardians of Coffeyville children to consider the positive benefit of allowing the children and youth in their care to participate in the programs offered by the Boys and Girls Club of Southeast Kansas, thereby contributing to their enrichment and growth towards adulthood as productive, law-abiding citizens with a well-grounded understanding of what it means to be part of a caring community. Congratulations.
You see everybody?
can't be in the front row.
Turn in. I was trying to center it.
Thank you.
I have a few handouts. I just want to say thank you to the commission and the city of Coffeyville, and also to the USD 445 for the partnership and the collaboration that they have put in place that recognizes us as one of the only Boys and Girls Clubs that have made up in our capacity and format across the nation. So that's really cool, and kudos to our organization. We're able to provide BG Tots this year to 3 and 4 year olds at the ELC Center every day after school, and we have right now 30-something kids attending that program. We're hoping to serve up to 77 kids. So that is another positive program through the partnerships that we have here. And just some updates, and I'll pass this information around. Our robotics team went to the championship round in Weatherford, Oklahoma. We placed 38 out of 40. There was teams across the nation there. Last year, we started this robotics team in partners with John Deere and their staff. And then also, we already had a robotics team with Alan Calkins. And we started off on a small scale. We did a couple of projects, created a rover. And then the kids said, we want to go a little bigger with this Mr. Walker. And so then we were able to compete at 2 contests this year, which qualified us for the Nationals. So it was a really great program. We had teams from Boston, Texas, all over coming in their RVs. And, you know, with trailers and big robots. So it was really cool to let the kids see that, and then to actually be able to compete against those students. So that was an awesome kudos to those Boys and Girls Club kids and Alan Calkins and John Deere and their staff. And then the next thing we follow down with another program we do is our Youth of the Year program. We went to the Youth of the Year competition this year, and Juliana Stevenson was our representative. She placed 3rd in that event. Each year we've grown, and now we're able to compete. Jim Kelly, Dan Goddard was there at our table. They got to witness and see how our kids compete against the other kids across the state of Kansas. And out of the other 5 big clubs, we placed 3rd, and that's Wichita, Manhattan, Kansas City area. You have several other the big city clubs that we're there with, and we do really well there. So it's awesome to see that. And then from that event, we also was able to bring home the volunteer for the state of Kansas of Boys and Girls Clubs, Jim Faulkner. He took home that award. So that was another awesome adventure to see the works that we're doing. And some of those things that fall line, you'll see now the Boys and Girls Club of Southeast Kansas, we have our own 501c3. So we're able to receive donations, and individuals can receive their deductions from those donations before we were underneath the school district. So things are a little difficult, and a lot of individuals thought that, the organization was supported by the school district. Right now, we're about 90% grants, and that's not good. So our focus is, as a board, some of the focus areas, as you'll see, is our board in the next few months, and that'll be resource development, club safety, board governance, and marketing. And that's what we've been working on with national office. They've flown in over 3 or 4 visits to work with our board and make us one of the stronger boards in the area. And right now, you can see from our board status that we're growing and that we're getting a knowledge base there that we'll be able to serve more kids in the next years. So that's some highlights of what we're doing there. Shop with the Cop, everyone knows that. But the next thing I want to talk about is our national. This year we completed our National Youth Outcomes Initiative, and that's called MYOI. Now, a lot of people say, what goes on in the club, and I'll have copies here for you. But when you create data and you get data out there, I used to be a believer in data, and I thought, well, kids can tell you. But in the last few years, I've decided to start focusing more on data and letting the kids vote. And so Ashley and Nicole Schwartz were able, at a conference, they learned about this MYI. And so we said, let's try it. So in MYI, we let the kids go into a room and they take a survey about what Boys and Girls Club means to them. So I'm just going to say a few things here, and then I'm going to leave some of these surveys, and I would ask that you go home and look at these surveys, because from the 77 kids that we collected this data from, they're 3rd and up, and they're able to make their mind decisions up, and the questions are worded in a way that if a kid was to put CCC, it would kick him out. But the questions are answered to the best of their ability. And some of the things that they ask it's like this here. It says, I feel safe when I'm at the club. And we had about 77 kids take this test. All of the time, kids said 38. Most of the time, they said 22. Sometimes they said 21, and only 3 kids said never. So there's things there that me and my staff are able to go back in and look at and see what can we do better in the areas to make these 3 kids that never feel safe, how do we make them safe?
You talk to those kids?
Yes. Well, we will talk to those kids.
Okay.
And how we'll do that is this is our 2nd year of the MYI. So we've just now completed it, and we're at 70 kids completing that. So we'll be able to compare the data to make sure it's not skewed, because I didn't want to do it off the first year, because you could have a kid like doing something totally wrong, or you could have something that's out of place, so it would skew your data. So this year I'll be able to make the comparisons and then go in and talk to those kids that never, and those kids that, say that it's great. So we'll be getting those results back. Another thing that came to my attention when I was looking at this data, it said, do you ever stay away from the entrance of the club because you thought someone might harm you there? And then out of all the kids that participated in the survey, 70 said, no, I feel like I can go to the club. And only 12 of those kids said yes. So that is a remarkable thing to have a data in your first year that you didn't know the makeups of these questions. As a staff, we didn't create these. National created them, and our kids answered these questions to the best of their abilities. So that's another thing.
Building right here.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Griffin.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So
And it would
if
be.
you had another building or not.
Yeah, we do. We have the elementary school. So we serve teenagers here during the school year, and then we serve K through 5th grade at CES. So
Okay.
that's the way we run our programs, because if we housed everybody in the same building, we would have enough space.
I got you.
The next thing that kind of came to my attention when I was looking at this data and we're doing these reports, I kind of looked at the level of fun, and I was seeing the things that said, at the club, I have a good time. 44 of the kids said very true. 27 said some of the time. The other 8 said not very true, and then the last said not very true at all, which was 5. So when you look at those numbers there, we probably missed some kids that could have been in this report, but it shows that we're growing and getting better, and the kids are having an optimal club experience. And the numbers go on and on. You can look through this data, and it's the questions that was asked per kid, and I would encourage you to look at this stuff, because sometimes in the community, you hear that Boys and Girls Club's just for the poor kids, Boys and Girls Club's just for these kids here. But we have a 21st Century Grant, and when Topeka comes in our buildings, they look at that and say, you guys are doing remarkable things here. And that's Chris Macy at the state level. We're the only town that has a BG TOTS program in the state of Kansas. And that was something that that was a need in our community, and I created it and wrote the grant for that through 21st Century. So we're on the cutting edge of things, and we're thinking about going to younger ages as well. There's a lot of things that I want to be able to provide for this community that would impact the business sector because of child care. So read over this data, and if somebody comes up to you and says, well, that Boys and Girls Club sucks, no, we got a lot to be proud of because we're working in the right direction. And national comparisons, we're either at average right now or we're above average by 3%. So that says it all, and if you need this data that's been collected, you can get a hold of me. You can come sit in and talk to me about it. But I just encourage you to read it so that you don't take somebody else's perception of the Boys and Girls Club. Thank you.
Griffin, you mentioned that, there's a perception of, the Boys and Club being for poor people. You
Yes.
mentioned that. And I agree, I kind of thought that too. My dad never would let me go for some reason. We had other things to do or whatever. I'd like to know more about it, and I'd like to know more about the percentage of kids that are in that category versus I'd like to hear from you on that.
Yes, sir.
I mean, it sounds like you guys are doing a great job.
Thank you.
Never heard of all this, and I'd like to visit with you one-on-one sometime, but maybe you can put together something for the city, on that issue.
Yes.
It would be a good thing.
And we appreciate it.
Yeah.
And we would love to get that out there. Our board
Yeah.
loves marketing, and we're moving in the right direction. We never
Right.
have had that before. So I do say that's not the community's fault.
Yeah.
That's been the Boys and Girls Club fault because of our marketing strategies and funding, and now we're moving in another direction.
Well, be interested to know more about it. And I've learned a lot, and I know we've learned, and the city's learned a lot here, and it sounds like you guys are doing a great job.
Yep. Thank you, Griffin.
Thank you.
And I apologize. You want to bring your board up and introduce them?
No, Phil-
That would be,
If you guys will stand up, yeah. These guys here have organized
Right.
me to a point where I have to say their names, and I wouldn't say it. The meetings they've sat in, long nights with national office, and we've really grown a lot. We have Ashley Tapman. She's our marketing director. She's over our marketing committee. We have Jim Faulkner. He's our board chair. He's in every committee. He's a late night emer. We have Samantha Merritt. She's the ELC. She's in our marketing as well. We have Vice President here, Lakeisha Johnson, as well as Safety Committee. And then we have Danina. She's with our marketing, safety, and our secretary of our Boys and Girls Club program. So just a lot of neat things going on, and I'm glad to be a part of it. Thank you, guys.
thank you for the overview, and thank you for all your time. Next item on the agenda is Montgomery County Action Council update. Tricia Purden, Montgomery County Action Council, will present, or at least talk to us.
Yeah, I'm just going to talk to you. I'm not going to do a fancy prezi like last time I was here. I've got some materials I'm going to hand up. I thought I had more of these, but I apparently shortchanged y'all today. So here's
Is that the one you had at the dinner?
Is that the 169 deal?
Okay, well, I've got
Yeah,
one.
we-
so.
brochures.
Yeah.
Some brochures I'll talk about here in a second. So thank you very much for having me, Mayor and Commissioners. I'm Tricia Purden, Montgomery County Action Council Executive Director.
I've already got one.
I'm here to just give you a quick MAC update. It's been a few months since I've been down here. We've definitely been very, very busy the last few months. But I'm going to lead off with some of the organizational things we've done. We have a new website. Go check out our new website. It's the same website it's always been, actioncouncil.com, but we hired Golden Shovel to redo our website. It's going to be really suited more towards the site selectors for companies who are looking at our communities, for them to better navigate all the different pieces without them having to even call us. And we're finding out that that's what site selectors, businesses are doing, especially international businesses, obviously. They go to our website to research that before they ever even say, okay, we're interested, and send me an RFP. We're definitely still beefing up that section, but right now we definitely have a more productive presence out there for site selection. So we're excited about that. Second, our small business loan program, we have completely overhauled that program to make it a little bit more streamlined for any businesses who are interested in it. We had several businesses that took us up on that last year. In fact, we had 21 new businesses open in Montgomery County last year. 280 new jobs were created in Montgomery County last year. So we're really excited to hear all that. And I would say a good chunk of those are your mom and pop small businesses that added 5, 6 here and there, several new small businesses that opened up around the county. We have Smith Auto and Caney, Reflection Salon and Independence expanded. Just some of those small businesses that you might not think about for those job counts. When you start putting them all together with 21 of them, we ended up with 280 new jobs in our county this year. So we're really proud of that. Third, one of the biggest projects we've been working on and we'll probably be working on for the next 50 years at MAC is US 169. And I only had 2 of the booklets. Apparently, I gave out too many this afternoon at the chamber lunch. But we are basically chairing that commission, the US 169 Coalition. And last week, we were asked to come up and provide testimony to the House Transportation Committee. We're very lucky to have Representative Rich Prell from Labette County, but who also represents the eastern half of Coffeyville, including our industrial park. So he is the chairperson of the House Transportation Committee and asked us to come up to give an update on what we're doing. If you're following the legislature at all right now, KDOT is in an overhaul year. This is the year when they're going to determine what the next 5 years of transportation funding is going to look like. And we wanted to make sure that 169 was at the forefront of those discussions. We did lend support, as you all did at the last commission meeting for the US 169. You provided a resolution of support, which I presented to them last week also. We got great feedback. I think the big point going away from that meeting is that they will definitely be looking at that section, which was our top priority, of Welda to Garnett, where if you travel 169 at all, it's that section of highway. It's only about 10, 15 miles, but there is no shoulders of any kind. It's highway, and then it drops off in some places 20 feet down, sometimes right into a pond. I was telling the board that I hit that patch once on black ice. And, you have oncoming traffic in a pond and you're just praying, that you stay in your lane and you don't go into the pond or you don't hit the head-on collision with the Mack truck headed your way. So, it's a scary piece of highway and we want to get that fixed as fast as we possibly can. We know that KDOT potentially has additional funding coming towards it through a federal fund that we just found out about. And we know that project has made the top 5 under consideration for KDOT. So we're hoping that our plea, didn't fall on deaf ears and that project can move forward. We also, our second priority is to get a full access management plan and a corridor study done for US 169. The reason why that's our second priority is because if that study is done and they can designate Highway 169 as a primary freight corridor versus what it's currently designated as a secondary freight corridor, that opens us up for federal funding. So it wouldn't just be on Kansas taxpayers to improve that highway, but we could get some federal funding to improve that highway as well and improve safety along that corridor.
So what do you have to do to get that done?
It's going to be a pretty substantial price tag. We are hoping to get a grant through Kansas Department of Transportation for that, which is why we set that as a priority. There are some other funds that we can apply for to help with that, but we probably will be coming to cities and counties along that route for everyone to share in some of that cost. I imagine there will be a local match for that. Usually KDOT projects are, was it 80-20, Thomas, maybe? So that tends to be the ratio. So, but we'll be spreading that 20 among all the counties and cities along 169. So, and we already have commitment letters from Allen County, from Neosho County, to do that in those cities and those areas too. So, any questions on 169 before I move on to the couple other big issues we have going on? All right. So the next one is federal opportunity zones, and then I'll hit the fun one that you guys really want to talk about. So federal opportunity zones was a slip inside the federal tax bill back at the end of the year, 2017. It clearly was a piece of legislation in that tax bill that was meant for a specific project somewhere in the United States. It gave basically the governors of each state 90 days to establish 75 low-income census tracts that would be eligible for capital, how do I say this? It's a new incentive, basically a federal incentive, that would allow any company who invests in those investment zones, opportunity zones, the opportunity to retain their capital gains they might have realized with another real estate acquisition or a company acquisition they might have gone through. So what the state of Kansas did, we were lucky to catch Governor Collier's ear on his second day in office. We found out about it at the KEDA conference. Just in passing, I was checking the Wall Street Journal and ran across an article about it, and caught the new governor the next day at Big Cheese Pizza in Independence, told him about the program, and they implemented the program 2 weeks later. So we barely slipped in the nick of time with the state of Kansas. So pretty excited that we were able to catch that. And we were able to get Coffeyville. It's east of Buckeye, but includes the hospital. It does have a cutout of the hospital if you look at that census tract. And south of 166, where Walmart is, in the city limits. So it does exclude our Coffeyville Industrial Park, unfortunately, and it excludes any development west of Buckeye other than the hospital. But our hospital, Acme Foundry, some projects that we'd really like to see happen in East Coffeyville redevelopment area, those projects all would be eligible for this federal opportunity zone program. So we're very excited to get them in. Caney and Cherryville, their full area was included. Unfortunately, Independence was not selected. So we got 3 out of the 75 that the governor was allowed to select in the state of Kansas. So we're pretty proud of that. Any questions on that piece? Okay.
And what's that for developing?
Yeah, so if you're an investor and you have an investment fund that you have realized capital gains on, when you realize those capital gains, instead of paying capital gains tax, you can instead divert that into one of these investment zones, these opportunity zones. Basically, it's a 25% tax you would normally pay that you don't have to pay anymore as long as you invest into these zones. So
I got it.
yeah, and we're still, I mean, like I said, it was a one-pager slipped into a federal tax legislation. There's almost no information on it other than what I've just told you today. I talked with the governor's office today, and they're working on putting an information sheet that they're working with the Census Bureau and the IRS to put together for all of us.
I guess the only thing I don't understand is that it private investments in private business?
It is. It is private business. Housing, it can cover housing, it can cover business, it can cover, I think there was a few infrastructure projects as long as it related to a private business development. You could do infrastructure projects. So if you had East Coffeyville redevelopment and you had to put in a substation to support a large shopping center, something like that potentially could be part of this, is from what I understand.
Acquisitions of property?
I'm not 100% sure on that. But I would assume so, as long as it went towards the development of something. You know, if you built a new building on that property.
Okay, interesting. Thank you.
Yep.
And do the investors specify where they want it to go to, or does it go into an account and then somebody else?
From what I understand, it will go into a pool, and then we will have to submit projects to that pool, and then the original investor has to authorize the project. Sorry, Mike.
Well.
Yeah, that's what I understand, but again, it's a one-pager, and I think we're probably going to get more detail on that from the governor. But from what I can understand from the governor's office, from my discussion today, it will go into a pool of funds that the investor will say, this can go into the state of Kansas, or they would designate where they would want it to go. Okay. So I think it can go either way.
Interesting.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so the last piece is obviously the Tyson project. We have been moving forward, although slowly, most recently. As you're aware, we were selected as one of the top 3 sites for future expansion from Tyson Foods into the state of Kansas back in October. Since that time, they've narrowed it to 2, and then they also decided to go ahead and move forward with their plant in Humboldt, Tennessee. We were very aware that they were looking at multiple plants when we were talking to them this past summer. So when, unfortunately, Tonganoxie decided not to move forward, they took that plan and moved it to Humboldt, Tennessee. So we've been in discussions with them for quite some time now on what it would look like if it came here, but we're still very, very early on in this process. As Tyson put it, we're in the dating part of the relationship, and we've only got a couple dates, so we're still getting to know each other. I think that is a blessing in disguise, though. A lot of these economic development projects people see, everything is kind of behind the scene, and we're doing site studies and we're doing engineering studies to see if a company would fit, and the public isn't part of this. In this case, we really want to make sure that the public is part of this as much as we possibly can. And so allowing for a more drawn-out timeline is going to allow us to do that. And we've really tried hard to put out as much press as we possibly could. As we've learned about something, we've put it out there on our Facebook page, on our website. We've had great partnerships with our media, has put out articles when we've had information, tried to share it with all of our local media sources as well. So, but I think we need to plan that this will take a little bit of time. So people might have questions about what the poultry industry would look like. For this specific site, and I'm sure you all have heard this before, but for the public that might be watching, the site would be at the Coffeyville Industrial Park, set pretty far away from actually all the other industry. It would have the production facility, the hatchery, and a feed mill out at the industrial park. And then they would need approximately 400 barns to meet the capacity of the production facility within an hour's drive. So that could mean all the way up towards Iola, all the way up past Sedan, all the way past Bartlesville, Owasso. I mean, it's a pretty large distance because it's about an hour driving distance. They want these barns to be pretty spread out. I don't see them being condensed around the city of Coffeyville or anything like that. I just don't think that makes smart. It would not be a smart decision. Avian bird flu, they want to make sure that those birds are spread apart to really allow for biosecurity. So each chicken barn would have about 30,000 chickens in it. The reason why we were moving forward and provided testimony on Senate Bill 405 recently at the Kansas House and Kansas Senate was because when we were learning more about these chickens per barn and how much profit our farmers could make on that, we realized pretty quickly doing those pro formas that a farmer really couldn't pay off their debt very quickly unless they had at least 6 to 8 barns. Ideally, 8 barns would allow them to pay off their debt in about 8 to 10 years, depending on which type of barn they decided to build. So we really pushed to get the animal unit set at 0.003 for that reason. It allowed a farmer to have 333,000 chickens at a setback of a quarter mile, basically from the nearest occupied residence. Before that, the weight was set at 0.008, which was typically used for larger poultry. Turkeys are grown in southeast Kansas, raised in southeast Kansas, but those were also used with wet manure systems. So if you're familiar at all, if you drive through Sycamore, you've gone by the dairy farms in southeast Kansas, they use a wet manure system, lagoon type system. Those do have smells associated with them. You drive on by, keep your windows rolled up. But these are dry manure systems, which if you've ever done composting, is similar to what they do. So it's a dry manure system. It stays completely dry, I think 20% moisture content for the ideal situation to allow for composting. They do compost it in a shelter, and it keeps all those scents contained in that compost pile, at which point the farmers would own that litter, and then they could sell it to area farmers to spread on their crops. So that's kind of how it would look, and a little bit of the piece of the legislation. Governor Collier did sign that legislation last week, so that is in law now in the state of Kansas. That was one of the biggest hurdles we had moving forward. I personally didn't feel comfortable till I knew that was done, because I want to make sure that we protect our farmers that are already here. And we know that they can make the kind of profit they need to make, pay off their debt they need to make. And so the barns still have, another 20 years after that debt's paid off for their expected lifespan, where those farmers could really make a nice profit, which is the goal, obviously, of any economic development project. So I guess the last piece is, what are we doing next, and what are we doing to prepare for this in this process? We have learned a lot. I've become a geologist. I wouldn't say I'm a water expert, but I definitely feel like I'm well on my way to my bachelor's degree in water and watershed protection. We're working with KDHE, the regional watershed groups, to study what watershed protection could look like, at waste management plans and what that would look like, and implementing all these programs that could make sure that we protect our natural resources down here. We've learned about our water capacity, and we keep going back to Kansas Water Office saying, okay, tell me more about water capacity. What does it look like in this drought situation? What would be the legal rights with Elk City Reservoir? What are the legal rights with Verdigris and some of our other industries that pull from there? What happens if our industrial park is at full capacity, we get Amazon filled and Southwire filled, and what does that look like? So we're asking a lot of questions to really prepare for this, and doing our due diligence, and which is our responsibility to do that. But I think the next sessions we need to have more sessions like we had our previous grower meetings. We had about 300 people attend the first 2 grower meetings that we had. Those were really geared towards farmers who might be interested in it. So the next one will be about natural resources. And we're working on confirming meetings with KDHE. I think we're supposed to have experts from EPA, some watershed management folks, Kansas Department of Agriculture, and have them as a panel where people can ask some questions and learn more about what that piece of this looks like. And so that should be happening in the next, hopefully the next 6 weeks or so. We're still trying to get that scheduled. And then the last piece we're doing is I'm coming to you, so that citizens can hear on the TV and on live stream. But then also I'm going to Rotary clubs and Lions clubs and all 4 city commissions in the county. And anyone else who wants me to come speak, I'm here. I'm happy to do it. And I'm an open book. My office is open 8 to 5, although I feel like I'm bouncing around the county 24/7. So call me, call my cell, anything you need to get a hold of me, ask questions, I'm available. And then the last piece we're doing is we're starting chicken chats. And so I'm just going to go around, and the first one's going to be on April 11th at Utopia Cafe after CNN down at 9:30. And I'm just going to sit, have some coffee, and talk with anyone who wants to learn more about this project, what it might entail, give me your questions. And if I don't have an answer for questions, I'll just get those questions down so that I can get them to an expert, and then they can answer your questions. So I just ask that people give me their contact information so I can follow up. Yeah. That's all I would ask for that. So
Very informative.
Yes.
Good.
Very good. So.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Any questions?
A lot of information.
Yeah.
I
tried. Sorry, I know it's a lot.
Statement, whatever. Trish, as you know, some of us attended the Montgomery County Action Council dinner at Caney, a week or so ago.
Yeah, it was last Thursday.
And what was Ted's last name that was there from Tyson?
Burnett. He's the vice president of engineering for Tyson Corporate.
Right. Nice fella.
Yeah. And he surprised us. He called me an hour before the meeting and said, "Hey, I'm in Joplin. I'm headed your way." And I was completely shocked and floored, and I didn't know what to do actually, because I was like, "Okay, what am I going to say in my presentation?"
You know, those guys were busy.
They are.
But anyway, what I wanted to let the public know something that he said that I thought was really interesting. Mm-hmm. And I can't remember if he said it to us as a group or if he said it to me personally. Okay, and maybe you can verify that. But he said that Tyson, appreciated the opposition. Mm-hmm. Okay, whether it be a billboard or whatever. He says Tyson as a company, appreciated that because they want these questions and this opposition and the negativity. These questions, concerns, it helps them with their project, and they want to. Teach everybody, and it starts a dialogue and whatnot. And because I had a discussion with them about that. And was that public or was that just one-on-one?
I think some of it was public and some of it might have been one-on-one. There's a little bit of a mix there, but he said the same thing to me. Okay. They want this dialogue, and they've definitely encouraged me to get out there and give as much information as possibly can, because if you don't have information, people don't know what to ask. Right. So I'm hoping that everything I provided today triggers more questions so that we can have even more dialogue.
Well, that caught me kind of off guard. I thought I'd hear some negativity about that topic from him, but no, that wasn't the case.
Yeah, no.
And, you know,
And I think that's I think a key difference is they really want to hear from local people and questions from our local citizens. I think that's absolutely critical to this process.
well, you know, I just thought I'd mention that. I guess I couldn't ask you that if you said that public or not, but I thought that was interesting. Okay. Well, it sounds like you're doing a great job with it, Tricia, and we appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I can speak for myself, I guess, but our town needs some business, and
We do.
and I haven't said publicly or came out myself. I'm still gathering information. So far, so good for me. I want to know more about the environmental side, and but it sounds to me like a great opportunity for our community, and I appreciate everything you're doing.
All right. Thank you very much.
I agree. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have one
And
question.
my contact information. Oh, did you have another question?
Yes,
Sorry,
is
Chris.
this is a publication that
Oh.
you're distributing?
Yeah, so what that document there is, I'm sorry, I should have said, that is the Kansas Department of Agriculture's strategic plan. So they put that together 2 or 3 years ago, and that document is what triggered this entire process. So I think it's really interesting that was done a few years ago, because it's the same questions we're struggling with today. You know, what are the challenges? Where are our weaknesses? And it's helping us guide this conversation, I think. But yeah, poultry was, the back page is my contact information. Yeah, so the first few pages are just the strategic plan that Kansas Department of Agriculture put together. Now, it is a dynamic document. They have updated. You can see it says 2018 at the bottom, and I have more copies down here if anyone wants copies of it. But it really, I think, helps to see what the state of Kansas, why they've gone after poultry. This was a Kansas Department of Agriculture project. They targeted Tyson, Purdue, Pilgrim's Pride, all of those poultry industry, and you know, Tyson was the first company to come calling. But I definitely say we're not just looking at one specific project, we're looking at an entire industry. And I think that's why that document's important to look at.
So where does the public? This is a very interesting publication.
Yeah, it's
It looks
on
like
Kansas
it's put
Department of
out by the
Agriculture.
Kansas AG Growth.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not you, it's the Kansas document.
Yes, that's the state of Kansas. That's
And
their
where
document.
can people get that? Because it's got a lot of good information. I mean, I'm astounded by the information that's in this thing.
Yeah, it's on Kansas Department of Agriculture's website. Just Google Kansas Department of Agriculture Strategic Plan. Poultry is how I found it, and I went right to the document.
So, but this is an open
It's an open document.
So anybody can do with whatever they want to with it, right? But within reason, obviously.
I was like, I don't think you can edit it. I don't think that's legal, but yes,
the thing
yeah,
is,
they can
what
share
I'm getting
it.
at is obviously we're in a dating relationship with Tyson.
Yes.
And we want to get as much information out there to the public as we can. Is there a problem with us putting this on our website?
No, absolutely
Is
not.
that a problem with us putting this on our website?
And I have it in PDF format if someone wants it. Or it might be easier just to link to the Kansas
Yeah,
Department of
however
Agriculture.
you do it.
Might be
And link-
easier
and
just to
get that
provide a
done.
link.
There you go.
That'd be
That's
good.
better.
Can we do that?
Because then you have the actual document.
We'll try to make a slideshow presentation out of it and
Okay.
put it on our website, a
Good.
PowerPoint or something.
Because I think the more information, the more accurate information that we get out there, and instead of, you know, let me just leave it at that. The more accurate information that we get out there, the better off our dating relationship's going to be.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of misleading information out there, so I would encourage everyone to learn more, take some time, ask some questions. It's a good process. So,
Good.
Thank you.
Trish,
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
Trish.
Thank
Sure
you, Trish.
appreciate you coming.
Absolutely.
Moving on to old business. Resolution number R-18-15, a resolution to approve an agreement with Austin Peters Group for strategic planning services. Last meeting, this was tabled. I don't know if we want further discussion. If there's no further discussion on this, then this will die as we sit right here, and we will pay them what we owe them now, and the rest of it will go back into whatever fund it would be applied to. But I know there was a lot of discussion around this the last meeting. So I don't know if we want to bring this back out again, since we're kind of at an interim with our city manager. Do we want to wait and maybe put it on the agenda for next year?
Can we ask what your recommendation is?
I really don't have a recommendation. It's what the commission wants. We did look into this after the last meeting. We had a credit with Austin Peters Group, so we've applied. They're going to cut us a check back if the intent of the commission is not to move forward with that.
Okay.
Vice Mayor says to let it die.
I second that.
Okay, let's move on. It's died. We can always come back and start over if we want.
Moving on to new business, resolution number R-18-20, a resolution to issue a purchase order to Mid-American Signal and Phillips Southern for a traffic control system. Interim City Manager Mike Shook will make comments.
Mayor and Commissioners, the intersection at 11th and Walnut, or Highway 166-169 junction, uses an inductive loop, or we call it a loop system. They're embedded into the concrete. When a car drives up, it senses a car or vehicle on the concrete, and that's actually what makes the traffic lights change. At this intersection, we currently have 4 failed loops. The only loops that are working are the turn lanes on the north and southbound. To repair this, we would have to saw cut the concrete, put in new loops. This is kind of old technology. So what we've done in the past is we've looked at the camera technology or the newer radar technology. We're currently using the radar technology at 11th and Buckeye. We've had that installed for well over a year. It's performed without any issue. I actually drive that intersection quite a bit, and it works quite well.
Kind of nice, isn't it?
It is. The camera technology, there's some minor maintenance on that. You have to clean the lenses. For the cost difference, it's roughly $1,500 to go with the radar system. So staff's recommending that we move forward with the mayor be authorized to direct the Director of Finance to issue a purchase order in the amount of $20,688 to Mid-American Signal and to Phillips Southern Electric in the amount of $7,500 to purchase and install a Wavetronic smart sensor matrix traffic signal control system for the 11th and Walnut intersection. And I've included some additional documentation in your packet to kind of explain it. If the commission chose to approve this evening, I believe we could have the crews and the equipment on site by the end of next week.
Well, the only comment I have is that's the reason I don't drive down 11th Street at 6 o'clock in the morning, because I sit at that stoplight for, it seems like, a long time.
And you may be the only vehicle there, and it
exactly right.
runs
It goes in that
full-
whole loop before it
runs a full
I
cycle.
usually hit it red about Egbert's, and I sit there until it goes all the way around. So
I think the public will see a vast difference.
I've actually heard a lot of comments about that also. So I'm
For it.
I am for it.
In fact, I'll move that we approve it.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Motion was made by Commissioner Van Oster and seconded by Mayor Bauer to approve resolution number R-18-20 for adoption. Commissioner Doan,
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams,
Aye.
Mayor Bauer,
Aye.
Commissioner Van Oster.
Aye.
We could be the first city in the United States to adopt a rule that if no one's there, you can just go.
I'm not going to go with that one. I'm not going to follow you through the red light either, Jim.
I've thought about it before, just so you know.
I've thought about it, but I didn't do it. So, resolution.
Did you now?
I said I thought. I didn't go through it. Resolution R-18-21, a resolution to approve a request for conditional right-of-way for the 11th and Willow Geometric Improvement Project. Engineering Superintendent Thomas Osborne will make comments.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. This conditional right-of-way clearance, basically what it does is allow KDOT to go ahead and review our plans for 11th and Willow. 11th and Willow is our geometric improvement. We're looking to do some widening of the radiuses to help with whenever the railroad is doing work on their tracks, the highway gets closed. That's our main primary detour route through there. The right turn off of Willow is rather tight for large trucks. This also will add left turn lanes for both directions that are dedicated off of the highway. We are currently in the process of eminent domain for 2 small pieces of real estate to allow for the clearances for the project. Since we don't have those yet, it's going to be mid to late May before we have those, potentially before we have those finalized. If we were to wait and do just the regular clearance form after we got those, we wouldn't be able to bid the project until September probably or later. This way, they go ahead and can do the review. Everything's conditional upon getting the eminent domain and the property acquired before the June letting. So, be happy to answer any questions.
I don't have any questions. I know during the last repairs we had on 11th Street, it seemed like those trucks really did struggle at that intersection. So definitely think it was something we need to work on. So I'm in favor of this. I'll make a motion to approve Resolution R-18-21.
I'll second it.
Motion was made by Mayor Bauer and seconded by Commissioner Taylor to approve resolution number R-18-21 for adoption. Commissioner Van Oster.
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor.
Aye.
Mayor Bauer.
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Doan.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you, Thomas.
Next item on the agenda is discussion on city manager search. So this is going to be on Paul.
I will make a few comments, commissioners. We thought it would be appropriate to at least go ahead and start a dialogue about how you all want to go about searching for the next city manager. Some options that I thought of, and you may have other ideas, but in the last couple of times we've used the LEAPS program, which is offered through the League of Kansas Municipalities. LEAPS is an acronym that stands for League Executive Administrative Position Search. That package includes a survey among the commission to determine desired qualifications for city manager, advertising, providing a salary survey, availability of ranking committee to rank all candidates, facilitating the interview process, and conducting background checks on finalists, among other features. Another option may be to engage a recruiting firm that specializes in public sector recruiting and placement. If you put public sector recruitment in your search space and do a web-based search, you'll find several recruiting firms. Their references, I think if you all chose to go that direction, we should do some due diligence in looking at references and fee structures for recruiting firms such as that. There may be the option to go with some other sort of executive search firm or a headhunter type organization. Again, we'd need to do due diligence and look at fee structures in that regard. When I was looking at this today, I noticed that some cities do RFPs, requests for proposals from executive search firms, and then vet those proposals to determine which executive search firm a city would like to go with. And it looked like fees range from $10,000 to $25,000. I think that's going to depend a lot on population and salary and those kinds of things, but that's something we could explore if that was the preference of the commission. Another option that I thought of is just identifying a particular candidate and recruiting that candidate. And then, of course, you may have your own ideas about how you want to proceed, but it's something you all ought to be giving some thought to and giving some direction to staff about how you want to move forward.
Last time we met with the Kansas League of Municipalities, did you mention that?
Yeah, that was the LEAPS program.
Oh, that's the LEAPS,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, and that doesn't cost much, right?
No, I think they have a flat fee for their services. I don't remember what the fee was, Cindy.
It was about $5,800
Yeah.
plus advertising and some minimal expenses.
And we had quite a few applicants for that.
Yeah, I wasn't really part of that process the last time, but I think you had several applications.
Well, I'm okay to go with that again. myself. I just throw that out.
I think based upon my experience with that program, I think it's a credible program. But I'd like to, last time we kind of narrowed the search from basically the Midwest, and we advertised more or less in, if I believe it was Kansas, Missouri, Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Texas, and we got a few applicants from they were just random from the East Coast. I would like this time to go on a nationwide search and go all 50 states and see what type of applicants we get based upon a nationwide search rather than just a search that is narrowed to the Midwest. I think that we should also explore the idea of I don't know if going through that program they hit the career recruitment websites such as, and I don't know them specifically, but there's a number of them out there that are geared towards basically recruiting potential employees. I think that we should explore that idea as well and use that to also gather in potential applicants.
On our own or through the LEAPS program?
I don't know if they offer that service.
Yeah.
And if they do offer that service and they plug that information out to these recruitment websites, then let them do it.
Yeah.
But if they don't provide that service, then I think that we should take it upon ourselves to get it out there, because the recruitment process needs to be all encompasses, encompass everyone we can get the information out to. That way we can review the potential applicants and get a large pool, broad sector applicant pool, because I think that in other words, we don't want to narrow it down so incredibly that we're only focused on these specific states where we want to recruit. We want to broaden our horizons.
I don't know what we did last time. Does anybody remember? Did we limit it to certain states? Because
Yes.
I didn't.
Yes, we did. They advertised specifically in the states that I mentioned.
Okay, well, I didn't remember that. I know we interviewed a guy from back east.
That's the one that I
You
mentioned, that we got just a applicant from out east that it just showed up in the packet, but we didn't specifically recruit that. Where that potential applicant was from, we didn't necessarily recruit from there. He obviously had seen the somehow, right, and applied. So, but I think that we need to get the information out there across the entire spectrum of potential applicants.
I can check with LEAPS to see what
Yeah, I think that's-
what their proposal would be in that regard. We obviously want to, if we're going to go through LEAPS, we need to just try to make sure we understand the scope of their search, but we're not going to want to do our own search in addition to what LEAPS is going to
Right.
do. So.
We could go ahead and get a few RFPs, and, so we can look at them, see what it might help us with, understanding. It might train us a little bit and teach us a little bit and give us a little information. Doesn't cost anything to do that, does it?
Well, not necessarily. You could issue an RFP and send it to recruitment firms. You could even send one to LEAPS to see if they would be interested. But my thought would be, why go through that exercise if you think LEAPS is a good option for you? Let's just try to refine what we're doing with LEAPS.
Maybe, yeah, I think look and see what options they have and what they can bring to the table.
Well, we can always.
Right, exactly. If they can do that, then I think that's what we're looking for, correct?
I'd like to see at least one RFP from someone. That's a private kind of deal, and the Kansas League of Municipalities isn't so much private.
True. Yeah, they sort
I'd
of
like to
focus
see
on-
one of them to see what,
Yeah, I
see
mean,
their proposal in terms of conditions.
I don't know about an RFP, because then you're opening it up and you're setting deadlines for companies to do. But we could focus on, 2 or 3 recruitment firms to see what they have to offer and what their cost structure would be.
Okay, well, first, we're no hurry, I don't think. I don't know how big a hurry we are, okay? We haven't talked about it. If we're in a hurry, it's one thing. If we're not, we could always try something else and then something else. But that's, I think it might make sense to make one swipe, swing at, go up to the bat once instead of twice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Well-
So just something to talk about here for us to think about. That's what this discussion's about. We haven't talked about it. Here we are. We're talking about it. So,
I agree with what you're saying. I don't think we need to rush the process, but I do think we owe Mike's pulling he's pulling double duty on his position right now. So he's getting pulled in 2 different directions. And, to be fair to him, we need to act. We can't sit on this for the next 6 months and not have someone in place.
I feel like, Paul, I'm going to disagree with you a little bit. Maybe you've been through this process a little more than I have. And it seemed like, you were a little involved in this last time as far as directing us, weren't you, a little bit in helping us?
Yeah, I wasn't directly involved with contacting the LEAPs or
Oh, you
being
weren't?
involved in that process, no.
Well, who did that? Was that before I came along? That was before I came along, I guess. Just before.
I thought Paul did.
May have been, I was involved in some levels, but no,
Yeah.
I didn't, yeah.
Well, I remember getting thrust into the thing, and it already started, but I feel like we should get some proposals for the private companies, 2 or 3, and then the one from Leaps, and so we can look at them. That's what I'd go for. That's what I'd like to do, but if the rest of you don't want to, I'm fine with that too. Now, I will, there has been some discussion. I got a phone call. Maybe this isn't the perfect place to bring it up, but there has been some discussion about, getting some of the community involved in that process. Chris, you've been through that with us before. We had requests from some outside, people that just want to help look it over. That's something that's going to be coming. That question is going to be coming forward. I'll just say it right now in the process, and we can talk about it later, at the appropriate time.
I think that I'm interested in entertaining that idea, but I don't think that we've gotten to that point yet.
Right.
I think that right now our focus needs to be on deciding who, what, when, where, and how we're going to recruit and get the applicants here, or the applications here. And then I'll tell you from experience that it takes a while to go through those applications, because a lot of them are quite lengthy. And I think that and I know everybody said we don't need to rush into this. I completely agree. But we do need to get paper in front of us that we can look at. So that needs to be expedited. That process of getting applicants to apply needs to be expedited.
Yep.
Then the process of weeding those down, that's when we need to take our time and make sure that we weed it down to the appropriate people that we need to interview. That's the process that takes the longest, is the weeding down process.
I agree.
One thing I'd like to know is, I totally agree with expanding our search out. And if it's last time, if we went down through the Midwest and it cost us $5,000 or $6,000 with Leaps, what's it going to cost us to extend it out nationwide? If we're jumping up substantially, it may be better to go the other route with recruiting firms that cover that whole area. If they don't charge a whole lot more to expand their search, then, it's kind of a...
That's why we need the proposals. We need to, Last time, I remember, guys, we got into it, we had the Leaps, and we were kind of stuck there, and there was a lot of discussion about we should have done this and we should have done that. And I haven't been through this process from start to finish, okay? And, this is my part-time job, okay? So here we are trying to figure it out. And I think we should get someone needs to be talking to the Kansas League municipalities. and talk to them. You know, maybe one of us, Paul, is that your job? Is
I
that?
mean, hey, that can be me. I'll be happy to interact with them.
Yeah, I feel very comfortable having you do it.
I think starting that dialogue is
Yeah.
what we've got to get started somewhere. And I think the sooner the better so that we can get the ball rolling. It'll answer Commissioner Williams' questions, whether it's a 5-state area or if it's a nationwide search. If they don't even offer that, then we need to go a different route.
That provides some direction for
Exactly. I think we just need to
staff
get some direction from them and what services they provide.
And maybe we can come back the next meeting.
Yeah, I think that's
and
probably
visit with the commission what we
I
found
wouldn't
out.
mind having a special meeting if we need to.
We
If we
probably
want-
will. We probably will before it's over. And when I'm not opposed to an RFP. Where I was going with that when I was thinking about it and preparing this was doing a RFP where you send that out to recruiting firms and then you get formal proposals back. If you're thinking of just reaching out to 2 or 3 recruiting firms and getting proposals in a more informal way, I think that's
what I
an
want to
option
do
as well.
See, I'm sure they'll have a package they send to you.
Yeah.
It's a marketing package. Here's what we do. It should be similar to LEAPs,
Yeah.
but I didn't get an opportunity to see those before.
So can I make a suggestion? Can we, instead of going the formal route of the RFPs, pick the 3 largest that are available that provide that service and have them send us some information about what they do?
Sure.
That's easy enough.
Yep.
And I don't even know about the 3. With all due respect, Chris, the 3 largest, but we might want to look at locality, geographical. The 3 best, not necessarily largest, but the 3.
then
Pick
let me
3 of them. Paul. You know what you're doing there.
Then let me rephrase that.
Okay.
Pick the 3 best.
Yeah, not necessarily largest.
Okay.
Usually the folks that are the larger ones are the ones that have more experience in it. So that's why I said larger.
Sure.
You can say larger or best or whatever word you want to use, but
Not in the rigging business.
Are we done?
Okay. I'm done. I think we got you some good.
You gave me some good feedback, and we'll take it from there.
Thank you, Paul.
So we'll talk about it probably next. Paul, as far as this speed thing goes, if you think we need to have a special meeting or get something to the city, maybe we can get it going and maybe get something done before the next meeting.
Sure.
I don't think we're in a kill hurry, no, but we need to move forward.
Yep.
And whatever, keep it moving. We haven't done much in the last 2 weeks, and now it's time to move forward.
Right. City managers report.
Mayor, Commissioners, got several items here. Just want to remind the commission that staff is performing our due diligence on the JCI AMI project with assistance from our financial advisor, Springstead, our bond counsel, Gilmore Bell. Paul's assisting with that as well. And we hope to bring back a recommendation to the commission no later than mid-May. Staff is also completing the electric rate design with Utility Financial Solutions and plan to have a rate design to bring before the commission in April. I'd also like to mention that our Public Works Director, Deputy Director, and 2 of the water superintendents are out this week attending the Kansas Rural Water Conference being held in Wichita. Some of you may have seen on the website, on the city's website, Police Chief Quinn Bromley, Captain Gregg, and Detective Vargas participated in training to respond to child abductions or mysterious disappearances of a child. Chief Bromley, Captain Gregg, and Detective Vargas attended this training conducted by the FBI at Butler Community College. Coffeyville PD will now participate as part of the FBI's National Child Abduction Rapid Deployment Team. Regarding the Coffeyville Police Department jail, Chief Bromley hopes to have the jail open by the end of the week. But this hinges on the ability to get staff trained on jail operations prior to the opening, and that's been somewhat hampered by current staffing issues. But we're shooting for this week. I would also like to mention city offices will be closed this Friday, March 30th, in observance of Good Friday. like to point out to the commission, I'd sent an email out, I believe last week. We do have one new camera, which is mounted at the back of the room. We've repositioned another camera here. I think you'll be happy with what you see. We're putting out a better product at this point, and we actually hope to be able to broadcast in HD, high definition, next week or next commission meeting. And I'd like to remind the commission, Gene Ratzloff, the Director of Electric Utilities, will be retiring effective March 29th. We're hosting a retirement reception for Gene at the Generation 2 facility this Thursday, 1:30 to 3:30. So I hope everyone is able to come out and wish Gene a happy retirement and thank him for his service with the city.
Okay, that's this Thursday.
Yep, this Thursday from
1:30 to 3:30 out at the power plant.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And lastly, a reminder to the commission, April 3rd at 6 p.m. We're going to be hosting a commission orientation meeting. It's scheduled to be here in the commission room. It'll be with the city commission and department heads. This is to provide an overview of city operations for the 2 new commissioners, but also as a refresher for the other commissioners.
April the 3rd.
April 3rd, 6 p.m.
Go ahead and just say it now. He's going to ask.
Cookies and refreshments.
Dinner will be provided.
It will be?
Yeah.
Okay.
You missed out.
I thought you were joking there for a
No.
minute.
I read through the email again today just to see what.
It's not just me.
I figured he'd be
me.
happy. I thought he might be happy about that.
I'll be there.
That's all I had, commissioners.
Thank you.
That lasts how long? Sandy, you remember? That couple hours, isn't it?
Couple hours.
Okay.
It'll be lots of good information. You'll walk away with a binder with a lot of good information.
Who's leading that?
Cindy and I
Okay.
Plus all the department heads.
Okay. Okay. You know what would really be helpful with that, and I can talk to you a little bit about later, Cindy, but let's just talk about it later. I enjoyed John Devine when he put on the board, had some literature on how that works on a graph, and I don't know if we have that or not.
You will have a lot of information.
Huh?
You will have a lot of information.
Okay, good. Yeah, that was really helpful for me when I started. Okay, good. Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you,
Okay.
Mike. This time we'll open up to comments from the public. The public is free to comment on items not listed on the agenda. Please address comments to the commission as a body and be mindful of others who may also wish to speak by limiting your comments to 3 minutes.
Lisa Brookover, 127 West 9th. I'm president of the Midland Theater Foundation Board. Haley Bagwell is our vice president. Daryl Harbaugh is our secretary. And Sharon Calkins is also on the board. We just want to invite you to a couple of things, but we also would like in the very, very near future come and do a presentation. Just a little bit, about a year and a half ago, we basically started over. We've got almost a completely new board. And tomorrow we are hosting CNN to kick off a new fundraising campaign, which is a long time coming. We had to start over on a business plan. We had to start over on drawings. So we're very excited about it. So anybody that can come, we're doing CNN there at the Alamo building.
Okay.
Mr. Taylor, there'll be treats.
I'll be there.
Popcorn.
Is this tomorrow?
Tomorrow morning, 8 a.m.
CNN.
8 a.m.
Yep, in the
Okay,
Alamo
good.
building. We'll be in the Alamo building.
Okay,
Okay,
good.
the
That'd
other
be-
thing, Haley's in charge of the events committee, and we've got an event that you guys okayed, I think, for May 19th.
Yeah. May 19th, we are hosting from 6 to 9 p.m. downtown, an evening for Pearl, celebrating 100 years. That would be the 100th a year mark for Pearl Richardson's birthday. So we're going to have a celebration for that. We're going to have some live music. We're going to have a meal. Going to have an auction with about five to 10 small items. Isley's Jewelry, I will say, has graciously donated some pearl earrings, which I thought was lovely. So we're going to have, just good camaraderie downtown. Just come celebrate Pearl. We're going to have a cake cutting ceremony with the board. We'll have mini cupcakes to give out. More treats, Mr. Taylor.
All right. So when is this one?
This is May 19th.
Okay,
Yes, from 6 to 9 p.m.
okay.
Yeah.
Is someone dressing like Pearl this time?
Pearl will be in the ticket booth. That's another thing we're going to have. We're going to have some tours of the Midland. So for a small donation, we'll have donation boxes set up. For a small donation, you can go and kind of look at the Midland, kind of see where we're at right now.
Yep.
Then you come back around for another small donation. You can get your picture taken with Pearl in the ticket booth. So, you know, it'll be a great evening. It'll be really nice to celebrate one of Coffeyville's greatest icons. I mean, she really kept downtown hopping for a long time. I really felt like she helped quite a bit with that. So, wonderful. We'd love to have you at CNN tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. in the Alamo Building, and we'd love to have you May 19th at the event downtown for Pearl. Thank you so much.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
When do you said you want to do relatively soon a presentation to the commission. When do you want to do that?
In the next month,
2 weeks?
that'd be fine.
Can they get on the agenda for?
Absolutely.
Daryl, would that be fine?
Congratulations, Daryl.
So 2 weeks good?
That would be
great.
great.
Let's get you on the agenda.
Yeah, definitely.
That'll be great.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you,
Wonderful. Thank
Haley.
you so much.
Appreciate it. Any other comments? Seeing none, I'll open it at comments from the commission and staff.
You had another
Oh,
comment.
one more. Come on up. Sorry. No, you're all right.
My name is Jim C. Taylor Sr., and I live at 704 Spruce. I really don't appreciate my son telling me that I had any responsibility for him not being someplace when he was growing up, because he did it his way. I would like everyone to know that I was a member at the Boys, not the Boys and Girls Club, the Boys Club, when it met on the second wooden floor over the Chevrolet garage. And I've really enjoyed it. We were a poor family when we moved here, by the way, but the reason I went there because it was excitement. I didn't know who was poor and who wasn't. But I stopped going after I tried out their boxing ring, and I was average size, and the smallest fellow there challenged me, and we put on the gloves, and he knocked me on my behind. And I stopped going to Boys Club. I started doing some other things. My father sat where you all are sitting now and worked for years on improving Highway 169. Spent his whole life trying to get that highway improved, and you all have got a formidable task trying to do something with it. But it would certainly make a difference in our community if that were accomplished. I applaud the work on it. But I came tonight with some serious business. I've been having a lot of requests to get my little red truck back out on the street. And they tell me even if I drive it without anything on it, they'll know what I'm trying to say, and I didn't quite understand them. I think, and you might check with Paul, I think maybe I'm the only one that's paid a fine under that ordinance. Is that true, Paul? You're a prosecutor?
I'm not always notified when fines are paid, like on speeding tickets and things like that. If somebody contests it, then I know about it, but otherwise I don't always know.
I can't ask you, but I can ask the commissioners if they'd ask you to kind of do a little research on that and see if there have been any fines paid. I've seen a lot of trucks with signs on them, and I'm wondering if anyone else is receiving those tickets.
Why don't you go ahead and find out, Paul?
My next question
I'd
is
ask that if it wasn't my dad. That's a fair question. Go ahead.
My next question, I am going to start driving the truck. I enjoy it, and I enjoy the conversation that I have with it. I didn't quite understand, and I was there when y'all passed the ordinance for the sign and for the fence, but I didn't understand, who do I check with now if I want to see if my truck is in violation? Do I go to, before it was the city manager, I think, that took the responsibility, or y'all gave it to him to manage that. Will it be a part of our, the police? Who's out looking for these trucks that have signs on them? And I'd like to go directly to them and see if they'll tell me. I'm having a hard time reading the ordinance, exactly what will or won't be, and I'm not anxious to spend any more money. I'll be happy to take it and let somebody inspect it. So I'd like for y'all to give some consideration to that ordinance, tell me where I need to go. I can't believe I'm standing in Coffeyville, Kansas, asking to retrieve my First Amendment rights. I thought the Bill of Rights was for everybody. In Coffeyville, it isn't. But anyway, I respectfully ask that somebody notify me who I check with when I get ready to drive my truck on the street. And then I'll know whether I can afford, I think the fine was only about $60. But as I understood the ordinance, at the city manager's decision, it could go to $1,000 or $1,500 per occurrence. I'd like some clarification on it.
Okay.
What's on this truck sign deal, Paul or commissioners? You know, this thing came up. I was out of town in Florida on a project for a couple of weeks when that thing happened. I came back. I was so busy at the time. I didn't have a lot of time to get involved, and I was somewhat staying away from it. And you guys had a meeting and to come up with this rule. Does this rule really need to be in place? Is it a First Amendment right? Or what? Let's talk about that for just a second. I really haven't talked to my dad about it too much. A couple times it came up very briefly, and I've tried to stay arm's length on it.
If I may say something, Commissioner, I'd like for everybody to understand, I've had a lot of comments, well, you know what's going on, you talk to your son.
Yeah.
I do not talk to my son. We don't do any messaging. We don't do anything. You guys are pretty easy to figure out. You really don't have to talk to anybody in your group. It's obvious to tell what's happening in our town.
Well, Dad, we do talk a little bit once in a while about something. I mean,
yeah, but I don't ask you what happened and
right. I understand that.
Yes.
Okay, so back to the point. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Is this, Paul? Is this? We might want to look into this deal with this truck and the sign.
Well,
okay.
The ordinance is content neutral. It has nothing to do with the First Amendment.
Okay. It's content control.
It's content neutral. It's not. The ordinance doesn't matter what you say on the sign. I think at the time there were some complaints being received by city administration, and the city sought to do something about it with support from the commission at the time.
Right. Well, we might want to kind of take a look at that, and to answer his questions. You know, if a fella has a truck with a sign on it, why did you get fined last time? Do you remember?
Well, one, I parked too close to.
Yeah, you were too close.
Too close to a sidewalk.
Yeah. No, to the fire hydrant.
Well, was it that they were both right there? Too close to one of them.
Too close to the fire hydrant.
Yeah.
Crosswalk, yeah.
And
well, I'm not sure, but my question, if I may, if we can have the discussion. So if I show up with the very same sign without any content, is it a sign or not?
It's been several months since I looked at that ordinance. I think it's a fair question for him to say what constitutes a violation or not. I'll be happy to send him a copy of the ordinance. It kind of speaks for itself.
Okay.
I don't think it's that hard to interpret. If he needs help interpreting it, then we'll find somebody to help him interpret it.
Okay.
Whether that's
Who might that be?
Might
That's
be
what I'm
me,
asking.
might be the city manager, might be the chief of police, but we'll find somebody to help him interpret
Okay, good.
And how soon will I be notified on that?
Within a few days, I'd say.
Thank you.
Same address, same email address, and I'll send you an email.
Yeah, same. The next address will be out north of town.
Sure.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Would you copy us on that also?
I will do so.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay. Now, at this time, we'll open it to comments from the commissioners and staff.
20th of next month, we have I know this is not what it's called. It's what I have in my Outlook calendar, mayor training at the Capitol. You know what I'm talking about, Cindy?
That's put on by the league.
Okay.
Yes.
That's still a go, correct?
Yes.
And those that responded, they're still,
And you're
reservations are
registered, yes.
done, and, okay, all right.
Am I on that thing or?
I don't know. I haven't received anything that you've submitted a registration.
I remember something about it, and I kind of forgot about it till you brought it up.
We can send you more information on
Yeah,
it.
do that if you would. I want to
Okay.
look at that. I think last time I thought about seeing, I was going to get a little closer and see what I had going. When is it?
The 20th of May.
The
20th and 21st. Yeah. It's Friday, and it's all day Friday and half day Saturday.
Oh, yeah, wow. Okay.
Right? All day
Yeah.
Friday, half day Saturday.
Is anybody thinking about
I'll
going?
send information to all of you.
Okay, is anybody thinking about going?
I was gonna try to make it, but that is a real tight time in my schedule, so I'll be gone for
Yeah.
2 weeks after that.
Were you thinking about going? Or?
Yeah, I'll be there. I've already registered.
Oh, right, okay.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, good.
Obviously, we haven't talked about it much. Okay, good.
Yeah, it was in our packet that they sent a while back, a couple month ago.
Yeah, it's been in the Friday updates.
Yep.
Okay.
May 20th. Any other questions or comments from the commission?
No, I'm excited to get started on our, looking for our new, city manager.
No, it's,
All day Friday. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. We were looking at calendars. Seeing no other comments from the commissioner staff, I'll make a motion to adjourn our meeting.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.